Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up with 30-second inch drawings here in this video and then continue on to the more detailed drawings, which will be at a larger scale. I just wanted to point out a couple of things here. So I've added some trees into my site section. And one of the things that I may want to do, yeah, so the other thing I wanted to mention really quick is it would be a very good idea to make sure you include the path, not only the bike path that intersects the section, but I would also be sure to include any path from your project that modifies the topography. So we may want to show that snaking down. And so in that case, what I would do is I would kind of draw, like we're cutting through here, but we're looking at the landscape kind of extending out a little bit, right? I would kind of draw here. We could draw kind of slope. I didn't mean to do that. Interp curve. We could draw some of the slope that continues down. That's kind of the furthest point out. This level. So a little bit, trim it with the ground plane. It doesn't have to be really perfect. I want to give myself a little bit of slope there, and that'll enable me to kind of draw a path, which goes from up here, which is actually very close to where my bicycle path is. Show that as actually it would kind of raised would show the railing beyond. But we could show our path. It's interp curve again. It's not second option. So we don't actually see the path being cut through, but we do see it down the hill a little bit here. Let's draw it right to the edge of our building there where it would be for us. Oops. So to show the width of it, I'll just copy it horizontally, or 3 feet. Over. It would actually come up to the same point, but I'm just going to. Okay, that's good enough. We just want to give some indication of that path. Up. It should actually meet. Okay, lighter line for us. All right. So yeah, I wanted to show you a couple of tricks for kind of dealing with these trees that are obviously more prominent than they need to be. So I put trees, and I got the same block, but I'm just going to kind of crop them. But instead of actually cropping them, because they're blocks, right? I have to explode them to trim them. And also, like, these trees are actually kind of interwoven with the pavilion. These are obviously beyond that. We also got to make sure it's not showing up kind of within our ground plane. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to select all those trees that are in the very back. Actually, no. Yes, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select all the trees that are in the very back, and I'll type in send to back. They should be the furthest thing back in our drawing. Okay. And then what I want to do is actually, I'm going to hatch the ground plane. I'm selecting all the outlines that I created for this ground plane. I can just join them faster next time. So we got a closed curve, that's great. And I'm going to hatch. And instead of using the other kind of patterned ones, I'm just going to do solid for this guy. And also going to put it on its own layer. I'm going to call this my fill. And then I'm going to set it to print white. So actually what I want to do is I want to go send to back, and then I want to put all these trees behind it. And then if I go to sorry, stuff. But yeah, I'm concerned here. Okay, let's try this bring to front. What that's going to do is it's going to crop out our lines and stuff that are inside there. Lines are all in front of that. So construction lines if you want them as well. And I'll bring that up in front of it. Okay, so we just need to make sure that layer was on, but you can see that the fill is blocking the bottom of the trees. We're going to kind of do the same thing to interweave these trees with the pavilion structure. Go back over here. I'm going to use my blank fill layer again. I'm going to hatch using the option boundary. Select just outlines because they may not be joined together. Okay, so I'm going to make that one fill right there. Okay. Again, it's in front of everything. I'm going to select all the lines related to that part. And I'm going to go bring to front. Okay. So because I selected them all together, the lines should still show up on top of the hatch. And then it should also block the trees beyond. I want to do the same with those guys. So I select join these. Hatch. What happened? Oh yeah, we need to grab this corner. I'll select all the lines. Line bring to right. Oh, I'm sorry. I did that wrong. I'm going to hit Control Z. Select these two blocks and go send to back. Okay, so I guess I need to bring everything that's in front of it forward. So again, I'll select all these lines. As well as the other ones before, as well as the blocks. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to move blocks in play order. Blocks with me. Bring it to front. I would actually. Okay. Here we go. It's getting better. Oh, Try it one more time. So basically everything except for those trees. Bring to front. Oh, there we go. And then I need to fill over there as well. And once again, everything except the trees. I'll just turn that layer off for a sec. You should be all the way in the back. Sure why that works, but anyway. All right, and then the other thing I could do here is if I wanted to, I mean, I think it looks really okay like that. I guess I might even be inclined to turn this here that's slightly lighter, but I'll deal with that in a second. The other thing I could do is if I wanted to, I could make it so this block is filled. And again, I would just do that by, and these blue ones are all the same block, but I would just do that by double clicking to do the block edit. Maybe I'll isolate before I do that. Block edit. And we may need to add some lines. Depending whether or not your block is like a closed object, you may need to clean that up a little bit, but try it. Definitely is. Yeah, so you may get this error when there's duplicate lines in places. I'll put in the outline quickly. That. Or even just in. That's likely where we lost the truck. Right. All right. Time. Finish joining. Real quick. Okay, so we got our fill there. And so once I edit the block and show everything that was hidden before, we should see the same thing. And this is a lot easier to fix. Lines, I'll just select those lines that were behind the trees, send to back. Great. So there we have it. We see the plane behind is kind of more or less shrouded by the trees, and that's fine. Okay. So, and I could even play with, really sure. Okay, that's not that. So there we go. So that's how we kind of weave the trees in together with the pavilion. So that'll kind of conclude the 30-second inch drawing tutorials. So obviously you'll have to do kind of the other section. I think it would also be beneficial, obviously to adjust anything that needs to be adjusted. If you move your section, I would be showing, in this case, I'd be showing the power lines, I'd be showing vegetation, I'd be showing, um, path over here, the railing, that kind of thing. Right. Moving on from there, I'm going to, again, like I did in the previous part, I'm going to make a new file, or I'm going to, I think what I'll do is I'll just copy this stuff, because right now I'm going to work on the more detailed version of this guy, the plan and sections of my pavilion structure, and I want to be able to zoom in a little bit more in order to do that. So rather than kind of work in here and potentially mess up my site plan, I'm just going to copy this over, new part of my file, work separately. I'm going to do okay. I'm going to grab kind of a large area. I could grab the hatches, but I just don't worry too much about that right now. I'm going to grab, the area where my pavilion is, and then, a fair amount of context. First thing, I'm just going to copy it over here. First thing I really want to do is update my contour line. So I believe that you were asked, and I'm going to keep this red boundary, by the way, because, for exactly reasons like what I just did, which is need to bring a little bit more information. I have a reference point where to place it. But anyway, so first what I might do is I'm going to make a new layout. Oops, I didn't mean to size. New layout, I'm going to make 22 by 22. And just to give myself a reference point, because these are 1/8 inch, I'm going to go 1 to 8. Drawing. 8. There we go. So that gives me a pretty good reference point how much context I'm going to show. Of course, I could also do the math and figure out how big that rectangle should be. If I'm 22 by 22, that number times 8, 36, I make a box. So that's roughly how much the area that I would need to draw. I'm going to put this in that dash line there. Okay. Not really going to see it when I print. Anyway, so I think it would be good, obviously, to show pathway. Again, at this scale, I'll show a little bit of the bosque up above. I can even shift a little bit upwards. I'm going to get rid of these lines. I don't need them. Okay, cool. So the first thing I want to do is show kind of how to illustrate the topographic contours that you can see, because we need to kind of show them with greater detail. I might have missed this. Well, there. And I'm not going to worry about that guy. It's pretty far out. So, okay. These are both kind of high points. What I want to do is I want to add additional contour lines that kind of show what the ground would be doing if I had the ground would be doing if I had more detail. The first thing I want to do is I'm just going to choose the sections that I really want to show. So I'm going to split these lines. Just use the command split. Sorry, without any selected, I'm going to use the command split. Use the option point. Select a curve, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing here. Same spot for a few of these guys. Okay, so the option point just allows me to click a point, and it'll kind of separate there. That looks pretty good, and it's pretty good up there. So the easiest case is like this, right? So these are 2-foot contours. They're pretty well aligned to each other. If I wanted to make 1/2-foot contours or 6-inch contours in between each of those, I could use the command tween curves. And so I'll select one set and then the other set. If I want to go half inch, I should have 3, I believe, curves. That would be 2 feet, 1.5, 1.5, 0. Yep, so 3 lines in between each one, and then I'll press enter. So I'll select each of those, and oh, I could actually put the same layer. Great, okay. So I could do kind of the same thing with each of these here. Green, green. So I could also, if I wanted to distinguish here, I could be putting these on a separate layer. I guess we wanted to distinguish, with line weight. Which are the original contours and which ones I've added. Go, maybe. There we go. And I'm going to do the same color, but a lighter line right there. That would look like that. A lot of different. Go a little lighter as well. There you go. So we see some kind of distinguishing between the existing contours and the ones that I'm adding there. But then it gets a little bit more tricky where I want to show, for example, between here and here, we're kind of doing a little more work to match up how those contours would go. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to kind of trim this guy. I'm going to split this guy like here and there. Kind of the same thing. And I could actually do the same over here. I believe that's going down. I guess I'd have to refer back to my map. This one's going down too. Has way too many points. I can rebuild these lines as well. Okay, so that one's extending beyond where we need it to. That's good. 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 Okay. And those lines go into that separate layer. And then up above. So again, we would see something that kind of contours back towards these two. So I'm going to split them. Option points. Sure we're matching up. And there we go. And so we wanted to make that work. I would just adjust these lines, rebuild again, put them on this other layer again. So what we would really see is this. Much, but I think there we go. So we'd see something like that. Okay, and matching again our printout. Looks to me like that stuff show up just fine. Great. Okay, And so that's the kind of the way to match those contours. Now, I guess one thing that I should mention is, if you have a building that's kind of dug in to the topography, let's imagine, this kind of area that's outlined is actually kind of embedded and sunken into the earth. So what you would actually find in that case is that the topo line would hit it, and then it would actually wrap around, meet back up with itself, right? Because that's all cut away everywhere where we're embedding our project. That's all cut away. So anyway, so if you have a project where the pavilion is embedded in the ground plane, what you want to do is basically trim the contours wherever the ground plane goes, and that'll make it look correct. Now, the other thing that I want to kind of get into is for this scale of drawing, again, we're going to do 2 sections at 1/8 of an inch. And unlike with our site sections, I'm going to actually orient my section cut to my project, right? So for example, I have this project that's tilted to kind of match with the topography a little bit and to match with the site. And what I would do is I would draw lines on my construction plane. So I'm going to turn that guy back on. So that would be how I would draw my sections off from this guy. And I'm going to show that. Anyway, so that's how I would show my sections. And I may actually also just to make my life a little easier, because I don't want to draw way off the screen, I'm going to offset this box, which I know is my page size. What am I at? 20 feet. Fine, that should allow me. I'm going to go like 40 feet. Trim all this crap right out. Drawing. Clean up my page a little. And I am going to keep that on about sorry, that red outline again, just in case I want to bring anything over. I'll have that reference. But anyway, okay. So like I was saying, what we would do to draw our section here, we would orient this, and I would take my section over here, here, and I would start drawing my section. And basically, the first steps of this are going to look a lot like what we've done on our site section. So we're going to go and grab all the contours, and grab the path. We actually probably don't need every contour just to interpolate it. In our section, but grab the bicycle path. That's a bigger, smaller contour. And we can kind of, define. Remember that we're doing 22 by 22 for the sections as well. So I would actually just copy this guy. There we go. Rotate it. Kind of center it. We'll make that the boundary. Great. Okay. And then I can start drawing my section. I'll do the topo interpolation the same way. And when I'm done with that, I'll show you how to start doing the section for this guy. And then we'll go through and we'll start adding more detail into both the plan and the section. That will be in the next video.